I'm Chris Tuck, a financial advisor, CFP, with a passion for educating my clients about investing. My father-in-law, Scott Kleiman, founded the practice, and together with my wife, Lindsay, and amazing staff, we are making a place to feel more at home with investing. This is Advisors in Cars Getting Coffee. Today, we are going out with Nicole Meyers, who is our regional marketing representative for Lincoln Financial. We are excited to speak with Nicole since she is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to long-term care, and she's one of our go-to specialists. We will be driving in Scott's 2013 BMW X3. It's been through a lot, but it still looks great. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
You guys want to have some breakfast? There we go. Come on in.
Hello.
Nice
Good
car.
morning, thank you.
Very nice.
You guys ready to have some coffee?
Yes, we are.
Ready to have coffee. Where are we going?
So we're gonna go to Tapas in York today, over near your house, and have some coffee. And I thought we'd talk about long-term care insurance.
Great.
Fun, right?
My favorite topic. That is my favorite topic.
I know it is. It's a really important thing to talk about. I'm glad we're going to talk about that.
All right, so let's get on the road here and head out.
I know a little bit more about this car than you.
I would hope you would.
Yeah. So, it's a 2013 BMW X3, right?
Yeah.
White. Was one of the models that they changed in that year was this X3. Something really funny about this car is, and Chris knows this story, Nicole, that every outside part of this car, except what, the roof?
Except the roof, right?
Except the roof has been changed twice.
Oh, wow.
Because of accidents.
Who's driving?
My wife was driving.
Okay.
But she's still a really good driver. It wasn't her fault.
Nicole, thanks for coming out today and joining us, having some coffee. I really wanted to have you come out and talk with us about long-term care insurance. It's a really important part of the planning that we do for our clients. It's one of those big risks that we think it's really important to identify when we're doing our planning. And in particular, long-term care really hits home for me and a lot of our clients in that I have a family member. My grandmother has been receiving long-term care for quite a while now. She suffers from dementia, and it's been quite a burden on the family, not just financially, but also emotionally. And having a plan in place on how that's going to be covered is really important. It's a really important conversation that I think all families should be having. So one of the things I'd like to do today is clear up some of the misconceptions with long-term care and long-term care insurance. One of those biggest misconceptions is that it's nursing home coverage. That long-term care insurance just covers nursing homes, and that's really not what it is today. So maybe you could start on that.
Thank you.
So true. Most of our clients think long-term care insurance automatically means nursing home facility, and that's never going to be me, right? Nobody wants to think about that later in life. In reality, I think historically, yes, many contracts only covered nursing home care, but now new policies out there really cover all services, in-home care, assisted living facilities, and nursing home facilities. In fact, the biggest trend that we're seeing at Lincoln is that the majority of our clients are choosing to stay in their home. So what's important for your clients to know is that there are policies out there that would cover them in their home. And if that's a desire of theirs and something that they would want in the later stages of life, let's make sure we have a plan in place that would allow them that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Nicole, there's many different types of long-term care coverage. Whether it be a traditional plan, whether it would be in an insurance wrapper with riders, whether it would be an annuity with its bells and whistles and its different riders. Tell me from a risk management point of view about long-term care insurance.
So to talk about that, let's kind of first say what long-term care is. So long-term care is needing assistance or supervision with any two of the 6 activities of daily living. So things like bathing, dressing, toileting, continence, eating, and transferring. Things that you don't want to think about somebody assisting you with, but later in life, that might be. Whether that be due to a physical limitation or whether it be due to a cognitive impairment is what we're really seeing a lot of these days, is dementia or Alzheimer's. That's considered long-term care assistance. And what I would want our clients to understand is that any expenses related to that assistance is an out-of-pocket expense to them. Speaking of misconceptions, a very big misconception that I run into is that Medicare covers our clients, and that's just not the case, right? Medicare covers short-term rehabilitation care. So really the first 100 days of skilled nursing if you meet specific criteria. Then there's Medicaid. Medicaid's the only form of long-term care benefits that the government provides. But the biggest catch is that our clients have to be financially eligible to qualify for that coverage. And most of our clients aren't, right? They spent their life saving and they've accumulated wealth, and they're quite frankly just not need-based Americans. So Medicaid is never going to be something that they can tap into.
So Nicole, with financial planning and specifically with risk management, I think it's really important that we look at the big picture. So, we see clients kind of in all walks of life. Some have, accumulated a lot of wealth, and they kind of think of themselves as self-insured when it comes to long-term care. And then there's other clients that long-term care events happen to either spouse, God forbid both, it would really just wipe out their nest egg. So from your point of view, who is long-term care insurance appropriate for?
To not directly answer that question, it's not necessarily who's long-term care insurance for. What you'll hear me often say is I'm a very strong advocate that every single one of our clients should have a well thought out plan in place for how they would address long-term care expenses. So the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says if you live past the age of 65, you have a 70% chance of needing some form of care in your lifetime. You're more likely to need care than not need care, and to me that's reason enough to have a well thought out plan. So talking about your different clients, I would just encourage people to ask themselves, if we did incur this expense, how would we pay for it? And what impact would it have on our financial goals and any legacy plans that we had in place for our family? And really the most important thing to understand is now more than ever, there are more options and flexibility out there if your clients decide that they don't want to retain 100% of that risk and they want to offset some of that risk through an insurance policy. And evaluate if that's what makes sense for them given their goals and their retirement plan.
So Nicole, at our practice, we sometimes, when it comes to long-term care, we look at what we call the soft side of family issues with aging parents or grandparents. And we find that some of the senior citizens that are facing a long-term care issue, they really don't want to be a burden on the family. They feel like they're going to be so dependent on the family that emotionally it's very difficult. Not only emotionally, financially, sometimes it can be very, very difficult. So I think that considerations with long-term care have to do with the soft side as well.
A few years ago we had to sell my grandparents' home where, we spent all of our, our summers, our vacations with our family. We'd go there and there was just a lot of memories there. And it was the right thing to do. We needed to sell that house. It just didn't make sense to hold on to it. But it was really hard to let go of that because it's like kind of the end of an era. It's, and there's just so much that comes along with the reality of if you don't have these types of policies in place and the assets you have to sell, it's more than just an asset, right? It's a home. It's there's stories there, so it can be really tough.
With that in mind, I think it's important that our clients educate themselves on what the true cost of care is. So what you guys are talking about, there's a financial cost and there's an emotional cost, right? But planning can help alleviate both of those. Not eradicate both, but alleviate both of those issues of just having a discussion, having a well thought out plan. The national average cost of care is as little as $60,000 a year for in-home assistance, but it could be well over $120,000 a year in today's dollars for a semi-private nursing home facility. That's the national average cost of care.
Expensive.
As you guys know for your clients, in Pennsylvania, we're well above the national average cost. So I would encourage your clients to at least sit down when they talk with you, educate themselves on the average cost of their area, And again, go back to what the impact would be to their retirement goals if they had to pay 100% of that cost.
Yeah, and that's just the annual cost. The other issue with long-term care is that the length of stay that people are receiving, the length of time they're receiving care is extending. I see that with dementia. People being physically very healthy, but mentally needing care. That can go on a really long time.
Yeah, the Alzheimer's Association actually has a statistic out there that if somebody is diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, on average it's 7 years of care that individual is going to require.
Nicole, what's the application process look like for our viewers?
So with any insurance, if our clients want to offset some of the risk, there is a medical qualification that they have to go through, what they call underwriting. Some underwriting is going to be what we call fully underwritten, where they require a review of medical records, blood work, maybe even a physical, and then your client might get rated based on their health questionnaire. There's other processes that are streamlined. So instead of doing a review of medical records and a physical, it may just be a phone interview with a licensed nurse, and that will be a much quicker turnaround time. And then for clients where their medical history might be of concern, there are products out there that don't require any underwriting. Now, they're not going to get nearly the amount of coverage they could get in a product that's fully underwritten or has underwriting, but it's still something better than nothing if that's going to be a concern. Our number one takeaway for our viewers should really be that let's think through what your plan is for care. What impact would it have to your retirement plan? But then have them know that there's options out there and there's flexibility in the long-term care insurance policies on the market today. So we can fully customize a strategy that makes sense for them.
Well, I think everything you're saying makes so much sense, and certainly the way our practice looks at it. Let's have a plan. Let's keep the discussion open and talk about what care might look like and how you want to receive that, what it's going to cost. So thanks for coming out today and shedding some light on some of those misconceptions. For our viewers that are curious about long-term care insurance, if they've heard about it and they're a little confused, I urge them to reach out to Scott and myself, and we'll be using you, Nicole, as support to help have that conversation and figure out what's the right path for them. And so again, thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Waiting.
Come on.
Hey, man.
Come join us.